to Women of Color and Intimate Conversation, a top 20 women's empowerment podcast where we center truth, transformation, and the courage to choose ourselves. I'm your host, Deneen L. Garrett, and again today, we're starting a two-part conversation that I know is going to stay with you. My guest is Rima Desai, again, a transformational life coach and spiritual healer who holds a master's in counseling psychology from India and certifications in Reiki, advanced spiritual response therapy, lineage work, and more. Born in Mumbai, she lost her mother at age 6. Her path took her across continents, including a season in Tanzania she describes with so much love. And her story is one of the most layered I've had the privilege of sitting with. Rima, welcome.
Thank you, Deneen, for such a generous introduction. It's my pleasure. It's my honor to be here with you. I want to always begin with saying you are doing great work in just touching lives. Your email itself to me, like with everything you wrote, the perception that you have, I want to honor that first before we begin. So thank you so much for
You're
being here.
welcome. Absolutely, and it's my great pleasure to have you on and to learn more about you and get into things. So let me just set things up a little bit more. On this platform, we talk about women who carry, women who survive, women who show up for everyone else, often at the expense of themselves. And sometimes the weight we carry has roots we didn't choose. Today, we're going to that place. So let's jump into it. So, Rima, you lost your mother when you were 6. You've described life after that as lifeless. What did it feel like to carry grief that young before you even had language for it?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'll begin with the actual moment and everything that happened because it's something that never leaves you. I can say now that I've healed so much of it that I was not sad on Mother's Day, but it took a very long time, or talk about it now, but it took a very, very long time and intentional work to get there. Yet, the life at that time, like the actual moment, is where I want to begin. Obviously, I'm 6, right? And if I were to just take you as a flashback, there's a van. That's what I remember. It could be a distorted memory. I don't know, but there's like a van or like an ambulance in which my mother's dead body is just there. And like for a 6-year old, just wondering why is my mother not moving, not talking, not doing anything. It's making no sense to me. And I'm seeing garlands and flowers like on her dead body. And at that moment, my heart knew it was a complete like shattering of my entire world, right? That moment, I have one of the worst memories, and it's probably all the trauma that I've held from that point onwards that I've maybe consciously decided to not hold on to memories. But for me to remember something, that means it's a very big deal. It has had a very big impact. And the day after that, the next day, we have this, like, we were not well to do financially, it looked like on the outside, but my paternal grandfather was very generous and kind to give dad a home for us to live, the home that he had, the only home that he had. And it was a massive home for 3 people. It was a 5 BHK, 5 bedrooms. So on the outside, it looks glamorous and glorious, but we couldn't afford it. It's just something that was given to us as you have 2 young girls, now you don't have a wife, want to make sure you're supported and they're safe. So the living room is humongous, is huge. And there's a reason I'm saying this is the vastness of it. When you see from one end to the other end, it will feel like 2.5 bedrooms put together. It's elongated. And I can still envision and see myself as a third person standing at one end. On the other end, at the far end, there's just one couch that we have. I remember the pink and the white night, we call them nightgown in India, like a two-piece that I was wearing. As a child, I remember the bows on it, all the intricacies that my mind will never remember such details. Hands in my pocket, dad is sitting there with his head down the next day. I think my sister was sitting next to him, and I'm just standing there and asking him, where's mom? Because there's no understanding of like what happened to mom. How did someone just disappear, right? For a 6-year-old. And in terms of the language that you're asking for in the Indian culture, nobody talks about grief.
Yeah.
At least not at that time. I think now we're making some waves and we're moving, but even now, the women that the free support group that I run, they're women of my age, middle aged, from India primarily, most of them. There's no understanding of stages of grief. How
Mm.
do you process grief? You only do one thing, you don't talk about it,
Yeah.
right? And so you're holding everything inside. Nobody's talking about it. The atmosphere was heavy for years. And there was this wall between us where there was no, it was just an emotional absence of complete void. Like it's like you're living in a black hole,
Yeah.
literally together at the same time. It led for us to not really feel any external harmony as a family between dad, me, and sister. I can now look back and say dad was dealing with his own, challenge through all of that. Um, and the circumstances beyond just mom leaving in the family were very heavy with a lot of other things. There's some background, some history to it. So I do feel that it didn't lead to bonding between my sister and me. We had no available adult. I don't think it was anybody's fault. It was not a culture where my dad grew up where he knew how to talk about emotions. We've never talked about emotions. I grew up never hearing good morning ever. I've never heard good morning. I've never heard how are you, my child? Like there's a word for it in India, beta. Like I will say that to my daughter, like how are you? But that's a loving way. I've never heard that because everybody was shut down. And on the outside, though, in a way, I'm grateful that my dad showed a strong front to the world. Having two girls in India at that time, you're at a very vulnerable spot. Like men are prying. It's not a safe environment in Mumbai to just have to go. I've grown up where men would walk into me, touch me. It was just
Mm.
like yeah, anybody can like kind of it's almost like you belong to everyone. So for dad, I can imagine the amount of burden he had on him to have grew two daughters, financially not well to do, the burden of a business, the burden of the home that was given, and kind of like feeling, my dad has done this for me, I need to pay back, give us a safe life. And education is not free in India, so he had to earn really to pay every single day. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And not until I got into my master's of psychology, not even in my master's, I could not word my feelings. There was one day when the teacher in my second year of master's, imagine like I am a grown adult at that time, like 21 or maybe 22. I don't exactly remember, but she called me in front of 200 other people, students, and she just asked me to complete the statement, I feel.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there, Deneen, shaking. It was that light bulb moment for me. It was like, I don't even know how
Yeah.
to connect to my feelings or word them.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? That's been me the last few days. So this conversation is very timely because I lost my cousin on Thursday. So she transitioned and she actually was transported from the hospital to my home last Tuesday. And so I was here to care for her. My mom lives upstairs. She was here to care for her. Her son was here to care for her. And we had her for 3 days before she transitioned. And a
Mm.
friend of mine asked, she's like, how are you? Like, and my answer has been, I don't know because I don't. I really don't. I'm a person who like holds things in. I don't necessarily feel it or anything. It's just there. It's just in its compartment. It's in its box, and I just move through life like that. And so, um, for the last week or two, I've been in touch with my emotions or with being vulnerable. And so I had shared, ahead of time, like my cousin's in the hospital, pray for her. Then when she came to the house, and then when she had transitioned. And again, answering truthfully, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what emotions, that I have. I'm not necessarily, I'm sad, absolutely that. And so what you shared when you were 6 and what what happened at 21, there's lots of us, even bigger age than all of that, who are not certain what to do with that grief. are not certain, what to say, how to feel, how to move. And so you starting a support group for women from India, that's a great thing. So what are some takeaways from your group would you like to share with us?
It has been eye-opening that really there is forget the part of even language for emotions. There is not even awareness, at least not in my culture, because that's primarily the group that I'm working with. So I can say
Yeah,
with certainty, this is what I've seen in the last 4 years that I'm running the group. Besides the clients that I work with, right? That is also bringing like it tells me, what's really out there. But there is not even an understanding of it is important to understand yourself. It is important to understand we're emotional beings. We have emotions to learn to connect to that and be in touch with it because it impacts every decision you make. It impacts the way you live. You bring it to your relationships, you take it to work. We are taking our emotional bodies as much as our mental, logical mind, which is giving. There's just not even an understanding of the how dire, how crucial that is. And I think even after 4 years, some people may get it and some don't. And what they tell me is, I'm feeling depressed or I'm
mm,
in depression. And then they go and take pills. And in the years that I grew up, I think I'm very fortunate that somewhere my soul had a knowing. I have never popped a pill for as an antidepressant, despite being chronically depressed,
yeah,
like to the extent that you can think of, right? One on wanting to live my life, feeling like, because there's a lot that I haven't said that, the whole journey
yeah,
of until I got here, especially like living in that house that was very heavy and very like murky and very dark, as I was what I would say. But without popping a pill, getting into masters of psychology, it would be easy for me to say, let me go to a psychiatrist and get an antidepressant. But I understood that depression is an emotional problem. It's not a physical, biological problem. It shows biological signs and symptoms. And I would have to work through the whole emotional journey, relive, let go, retry, like transform and rebirth myself in several ways if I wanted that to go away. True, the same is true for anxiety as well. But still, there are women that tell me I'm feeling depressed and they take pills and they're still not feeling good. And I try to explain to them, you have to do the work.
mm,
Nobody's going to come here and do that magic for you. And it requires you to either hire a professional if you can't do it yourself, which most people won't, or they won't know the techniques and the strategies that go into it. And something that will fit a little bit when I tell them, just like when you go to a gym, a fitness coach, you tell them their final goal.
yeah,
And then they have the strategies, they have the depth, the understanding. That's what a life coach or like somebody like me who's doing multiple things, astrology, life coaching, spiritual response therapy, we have the expertise to look into human behavior and understanding what solutions, what pathways you need to get there. It takes a lot though. It's still just not as easy a concept. And my dad, my sister, my family as a whole overall, I'm not saying it's their fault. Even at the time, there wasn't awareness enough to say psychology is important. So I was never doing an important career for any of them. It's like, you're just like doing whatever. Like it's not something that was considered highly, at least not at the time.
yeah. But yet there's so many benefits of seeking that support and just support in general, right? We can go it alone, but it's better when we have support and community and a family and have people that we can share what's going on with us with. So kind of let's kind of define depression. So based on your expertise, based on your education, how would you define depression, or at least the part of it that you're tapped into, that you're working with?
For one, to help women accept and understand, and women, I'm saying not that it's not true for men, because I primarily work with women and we're channeling that population right now, talking to them, to that audience. But in general, depression, if I were to explain that, first, just to help that to stick, to kind of help them understand there's nothing wrong with you. You're not necessarily doing something wrong. And it's not something out of the box that's happening. It's not like a crazy virus. And that is just weird and awkward. That's how it's kind of viewed in my country. They don't know how to deal with it, or that's why they don't want to talk about it or avoid it. It's like your body having fever. It's a symptom. According to me, the way I say it as a spiritual healer, anything that's happening that's out of the norm where you don't feel good, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, it's a symptom of something else. So depression is like a fever that's telling you there's an infection, an emotional infection somewhere else that needs attention. Now, if I were to not treat that fever, I could pop a pill, an antibiotic or whatever. It's going to suppress the fever, right? It's not going to take away the infection necessarily. If it was mild, maybe. But in most cases, depression is emotions that have been grief, for example, or emotions that have been either ignored, grossly, like chronically suppressed for a long period of time, unattended, probably some of it through birthing, because we could be feeling the symptoms of depression as we birth and separate ourselves from our mothers, right? And it could be sitting within us. So the fever, the symptoms, so there could be several reasons for it, but it's been sitting there for a long time. Now, clinically, in psychology, we would say minimum 3 weeks to feeling a lull, feeling like disinterest. There's all of those symptoms that are listed that anybody can go and read. But what I want to educate the audience is you could be looking the happiest outside. I was talking to someone
Mhm.
yesterday and I was convincing that individual, this person you care about, because they kept telling me, but they talking normal, they're looking okay, they're fine when I talk
Yep.
to them. And I'm like, they're not. And
Yeah.
in fact, they're probably at the edge of that decision of should I live or not live? Do I want to or not want to? So we could go a lot more in depth to it, but it's a symptom that needs further attention of what's going on in your emotional world that has been left unattended. It's the easiest way.
Yeah. No, and so when you say that, I was reading in this book, I don't have it in front of me, but it's The Alchemy of Something, and it's about journaling. And the one portion that I read today was about that, like, I'm fine, like, how are you? And so the person had just lost their husband, young widow, young baby, and, her answer to everybody is, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And so she was able to convince everybody that she was fine, and she absolutely was not. And so moving forward, she is no longer just saying, I'm fine. She's, real with her feelings. And of course, she's not just telling everybody, like spilling it out with any and everybody, but those that she feels are safe place, she's being a little bit more vulnerable with them to say, this is how I'm feeling. And like I shared earlier, how I'm saying, I don't know, or even progressing to, what, actually, I'm sad. This is how I'm feeling. And I think that we need to do more of that. Again, when we have a safe place, we feel safe with someone to be honest with it, because I think that it releases a lot from us as well as gives that person an opportunity to whatever support possibly they can offer. But just, for us not to do it alone.
And I love that you're saying this. Let me add to that, because you've made some a great point here. Also want to go back a little bit, just dial back, and condolences, but also my heart and my love to you to get through this phase, all the strength. I was one of those persons because I did not get love growing up, physical touch, emotional. The first instinct is for someone to come and hug me. I'm like, don't hug me. Like, you are coming into my space. Like, so I always say, I'm not always going to say I'm necessarily going to give you a tight hug, but all of my love for this phase. Um, in terms of being truthful, being honest, we first have to be honest to ourselves. And
Yeah,
it is very liberating, very, very liberating. Once we're honest to ourselves, it's so much easier. It's almost natural to be that with someone else. That's authenticity, right? Being honest. And
absolutely.
that's where a lot of the teaching that you were telling me, the takeaway is to tell women and to kind of change their internal mechanism of it is okay to not be okay. It does not
Mhm.
reflect poorly upon you. It's so ingrained in my culture. If you're depressed, that something is genuinely wrong with you. And I don't know where that comes from
Yeah,
and why. Yeah, why do we always have to be on and okay and good? Like physically, we're not. So emotional is another aspect of us. And it's okay to say I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling happy. And then the more we use all of the variety of emotions Especially the easier way to start could be as a takeaway for women that are watching. If it's hard for you to be vulnerable, start at a place that's easy. So start saying, today I'm thrilled. Don't just use the word happy or expression
Yeah.
happy for everything. Pin it down to something more specific, like I feel surprised. I feel enthusiastic. I think I wrote that in the email to you because I was not feeling excited because I had some nervousness to it. So I said, I'm enthusiastic. Start at an easier place and then it becomes easier to
Yeah.
accept the other emotions.
Absolutely. And what it does as well is it lets people in. And so, how you said with the hugging, like, okay, putting, like, oh no, not too close, not too tight. Well, being vulnerable, sharing those things with people, let them in. For those who are wanting people to be let in, some people don't want. And me, I'm wanting people to be let in. So I'm realizing as we're having this conversation that, oh, that's also what's happening. So when you said dial back, let's kind of dial back to by the age 12, you could read minds and predict things. Were those experiences frightening, or did they feel like companionship during those lonely years?
That is such a good question. And that did get me thinking to like sit with it for a moment. And I've thought of it when I was younger, especially. Um, It was, I'll take you back to a moment that I clearly remember. This would happen repeatedly, and I think it was a sign from my mom. My mom did not die of natural causes. I just want to mention that. And I'm okay to share that, at this moment. But I think it was a sign that she communicated every time. So we had a room where it was my own room or shared with my sister sometimes, and uh, I think at other times maybe she was in another room. My memories, I'm alone in the room. I'm leaving for college. I'm just a young teenager, like the early teens or high school, and I'm closing the door. The windows are shut. Everything's closed. We don't have AC. The fan is not running, and there's a wall clock. So if you see the wall behind me, think of a wall clock right there. And I open the door when I come back. So nothing's moving, nobody's going into the room. And I come back and the clock is on the other side of the room, right? And this has happened several times. Or I wake up at night and I put the clock back up, right? And it happens again. Or I wake up at night and the clock is stuck at 3 a.m. I've seen that umpteen number of times. So obviously, as a child, initially in a country or in a culture where you don't talk even about your emotions, you definitely don't talk about voodoo things, things that are like unseen. You don't talk about occult. You don't talk about you talk about religion and God, that is also unseen, but only that's considered acceptable and positive. Anything that is not understood is not talked about, in short. So I had to keep it to myself. And in the beginning, it was scary. It was like, what is going on here? I would also get chills down my spine, almost like someone's running a finger. And it might sound scary to some of you, but it was actually my guardian angels trying to get my attention, probably to give me signs and to get me into like realizing like you're made for more than this. You
Yeah.
haven't, eventually, I was 18, I was 16, maybe, I don't remember the exact timeline. My paternal grandfather's brother passed away, and I told one person, I think, that he's going to pass away because I saw it in a dream. And I had to be very careful of not oversaying it, and I have at times, and it lashed back very badly on me. Whether it was my sister, whether it was, and again, I'm not saying that, I'm upset with her now, but at the
Yeah.
time, for a child, you're not only denying my truth, it kind of makes the child question,
Yeah.
am I normal and okay? Luckily, internally, I knew I am, but it did make me feel very abandoned and alienated and misunderstood from the family. And that grew emotionally more and more. So it didn't scare me after a point. It kind of became not even my companionship, it became my special superpower. For
Yeah.
a child who was emotionally neglected, I felt special as a person. Um, and for years, I've given a lot of indications to the family, and maybe not up until the last 2 or 3 years, they've started to recognize my gifts and acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And it's been a very, very hard and sad journey up until then for me, coming from family. Again, I think I understand now. It's just the culture. It's just
Yeah.
not, and you have to have an open mind to realize.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And then you're able to tap in that when you're working with the women that you're working in, right? You're coming from that place and from that experience. It's all of who you are and how you're able to help them through.
Goosebumps you'll have. I can give you so many examples, and women are like, how do you know that, Rima? Like, how do you know? Nobody knows this, and there's a lot. Like, you can give me a name right now, and I can channel into their emotional body, their emotions, thoughts, decisions, past, present, like a lot. Like, I can tell you a lot about it. And I could verbatim read actually every single word someone's thinking. When I was younger, I had more free time. So it was very, very deep. Now I can tell the emotions and the thoughts, but I cannot give you the verbatim necessarily. There have been times when I've messaged a client, no contact, right? For 3 years. I'm like, oh, is this what you were thinking? This, and they're like, wait, what? Like, just like no contact. I'm just messaging them. This is your
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. Intuition, visions and all those things that, a lot of people do believe that that happens. So for many women of color, we normalize pain early, as you've shared, as you've experienced. I have as well. I lost my dad when I was about 12. Again, not natural circumstances. We learn to function alongside grief rather than to move through it. Again, that's what we've been talking about, what I'm experiencing. What do you say to the woman who has been functioning so long she doesn't even know what healing feels like or could feel like?
Give it a chance. Give somebody else a chance. You've got to give, if you want to give your life a chance, and it's hard to kind of convince someone, you need to just walk into a door. Like I said, for a fitness coach, right? You need to give your life a chance. And sometimes that means just like you hire a professional lawyer, you hire a professional, insurance agent, you need to hire someone to help you out to begin your journey somewhere. There are women that have plenty of money. Like we can make all kinds of excuses to ourselves. You could say one dinner and use that money to start a session with someone, to start your healing journey, and give it a chance and see where that goes. If you don't do anything, here's what I'm going to say. Even 5 years, and I've said this to some people, you're going to be at the same place 5 years
Yeah.
from now, asking me the same question.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I know how that is, right? Like we keep repeating the same thing because there's a lesson to be learned. There are some changes to be made. So I want to get into the Tanzania, right? So I've teased that in the very beginning. Um, so tell us a little bit about Tanzania. How did you end up there?
I love this chapter. Thank you. This is okay, so we'll keep it to the time, but we'd also ensure that it leaves the audience feeling like curious and like truly into the story.
Right.
And when I was little and dad was busy, earning, how would he keep me? Like my school would end at 1 p.m. in India, and I would come home and I would be free the whole day. He had no money or time to take me to any classes. I'm literally just home. Homework is done. How does he keep me busy? I didn't have friends. It was a lonely, lonely childhood. So he would have these cassettes at the time, or CDs,
Mhm.
DVDs, right at the time. Serengeti Wildlife of
Ah,
Tanzania. And if you're around my age, Discovery Channel, it used to show it all the time, all the wildlife, the animal hunting. And I've seen it in and out in my childhood. And I've thought to myself, gosh, I'm never going to get to go there, will I? Because I love nature since childhood. It's like I have some deep connection. And I've literally told myself this statement several times, like, I'm not going to get to go there. And fast forward, I want to escape my childhood, right? I want to escape it. So I want to get married. In my mind, if I get married, I'm going to escape all of my pain and trauma. So I am like curious. I'm like really into it. I want to find someone. I want to get married and like live the happily ever after. 17 marriage proposals,
yeah.
17 at the time. I proudly say that. But also, there's a whole other story to it. Like me and my twin, my best friends, we have been meant for each other. But we came in this life together because I had to separate myself and give birth from my body because I wanted to know what it feels like to come to earth and birth a baby. So I knew it's not going to happen with him. We've lived several lifetimes where we've lost the child. And my soul said, this time I'll sacrifice my love and I need to get married to have that baby once. to come to Earth because I'm not of Earth descent. I'm a star seed. I'm from a different dimension. I wanted to feel that in my body. That was the one mission of my life. So I had to get married to someone, right? My soul doesn't know all that. It's all happening in the background. But I'm just saying, we separated. I'm finding someone. There are 17 proposals. Out of everyone, why did I choose that one person who originally was, and that's not happening consciously, right? I don't know that this person is from Africa. I'll get to go to Sereng. Obviously, that's not the goal. He's in the United States at the time. We've been chatting for 4 months. We decide to get married. Look at what fate has in store. He finished his master's. He was in en route to get his work visa. We are about to get engaged. He's coming to India for his sister's wedding. We are going to get engaged. He never gets his work visa. And till date, neither the lawyers nor the company nor him know where those papers went because they were mailed out, untraceable. We don't know where those papers disappeared, right? So it's like divine, like intervening over there. It forced us for him to have a pivot, right? Suddenly he's like, now where do I live? Because everything's in the United States for me. I'm settled there. So we went back to live in Mwanza, a small countryside city of Tanzania, East Africa. I say East Africa because people immediately say
Yeah.
South. East Africa, it's very different, like in terms of the overall, life and livelihood, a very countryside. So we went back to live with parents. His mom passed away a year after. So everything was divinely like created. And I have done 5 trips so far in my life, or 6 maybe, of the Serengeti wildlife, seen lions hunting, seen migration. Like it's unimaginable how, like, you can't imagine how nature or the universe, what it has in store with you. Like
Yeah.
human planning is all in waste sometimes.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I love that. That's just like in the book The Alchemist, right? I mentioned alchemy in the book The Alchemist, like what you seek is seeking you. So you were seeking being in the Serengeti, and then fast forward, it was able to happen for you. So talk to this about your daughter's soul wanted to manifest its mission. What happened there?
So I'm enjoying my life overall. There's a lot of challenges too, but I loved the country. I love the people. I love the countryside, despite coming from a city like Mumbai. But she's born, and we have massive riots in July of 2011. Massive. Like it was one of a kind political unrest and riot in our area where our entire home and our home had glass windows all around the entire house, except for one small room. Now, that is the one day since the time she's born. She's 16 months old. One day that I put her to sleep in that one bedroom that I never ever do in my life. Come riots, um, all the glasses, the windows are broken. Our house is filled in 44 big stones and rocks. Me, my father-in-law at the time, and daughter are sitting in one room for 3 hours just to stay safe from cars are being burned. Like it was really radical. It was huge. It was very disturbing. And husband is at work. He doesn't even know what we've gone through. I gave him an ultimatum after that. I'm not going to live here. Little did I know, my my daughter, she used to be she's lived with, it is a reincarnation
Mm.
basically of someone, right, who I've met already. They wanted to go to the United States. So little did I know it was really her soul driving to get us to the United States. I came here on a tourist, with a tourist bag, keeping in mind that I'm just going to visit. He got his work permit. He said, we're not going back. We won't get this opportunity again. I am like somewhere leaving, sitting in the car, feeling like, I hope I get to come back here again. And I'm asking myself, why am I saying this? I'm just going to visit for a few months. I never came back. It was all her destiny and her future. It's been amazing. It's been amazing for her. It's really exactly what she needed for her life.
Wow. So yeah, so we are coming to the close, but I do want to ask one question and about leaving. So leaving Tanzania, what did it teach you about surrender and about trusting something bigger than your own plans?
I'll tell you that it took me quite a few years to get there, but to see my daughters, if she would have grown up in Tanzania, the medical, the education, versus what she got and what her soul needed, I've understood so much of it. Obviously, we can talk for hours.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to say that there is really divine purpose that I don't need to understand right now. There are many things right now that are happening maybe in my life that I don't understand. And if I've tried and put in effort, and if it still doesn't happen, something else is brewing in the background for a much better reason. So it taught me to surrender, but with patience and with time, I kind of fought it. But I've really learned now to let go and trust. Put in your efforts. But
Yeah.
if you're not getting an outcome, just trust there's something else happening. Maybe it'll make sense 5 years from now.
I love that. So, in part two, we go into the work, the limited beliefs, the lineage healing, the depression and anxiety that energy work shifted when nothing else could, and what it actually means in practice in the everyday to go beyond. So, to those who are watching or listening, if this conversation landed somewhere in you today, share it, pass it along to other women who need to hear this. And Rima, thank you for trusting this space with your story. And I'll see you in part two. This is Women of Color, an intimate conversation where we choose ourselves boldly. Ria, see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.